for now. Oh yeah, we are so back. Joe's Jive is here to make you feel okay. So sit back, oh yeah, and pour yourself a mean cup of Joe. And I got someone who's gonna talk to you and you'll say hello. He's gonna rock your world and he might make you laugh. And don't drink too much coffee, baby, or you might crash. We are alive in 2025, and you're listening to episode 23 of Joe's Jive with me. I'm Jolly Joe, and I'm getting old, and I want to introduce you to my friend Dan Finegold. Welcome to the podcast, Dan.
Hey, oh, we are so back. What's up, Joe?
It's so good to see you, Dan.
Good to see you too,
brother.
buddy. I'm so excited to finally be here.
It's so good to have you here, and I'm super excited to be seeing you in person soon in New Paltz. You're coming to Snugs on January 28th for the comedy night for my birthday.
Happy! I didn't even know it was for your birthday. Wow.
Yeah.
Happy birthday.
I'm turning 28. It'll be the first day of my 28th year on January 28th. And honestly, man, you've been a huge inspiration for me, and I'm so glad you're going to be there.
Oh, that's so sweet of you to say. Thank you so much. Yeah, I mean, thank you for having me. Anytime I get to, perform outside of New York, it's always a blast. So I'm so excited.
Well, I'm excited to have you. It's great to have you back in the area. And yeah, you're a stand-up comic. You're a great friend. And you also were an improviser at one time. I think when I first met you, it was one of the first times that I saw people doing improv really well. And I got the itch.
Oh, wow. Really? That's amazing. Yeah. Improv was for sure my first love. I still love improv. I still love hitting jams whenever I can.
Great.
Stand-up was just something I did because I didn't have to coordinate with anybody. But
yeah, one-man band in stand-up.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I'm so glad that you're here, and we're going to dive into it. And you were improvising with the college team when we first met. We're both alumni of New Paltz, where we're having this show. So is this the first time you've been back in a while?
Yeah, definitely the first time I've been back in quite a while. I graduated 2018, so we're long past the point where anyone who I knew while I was there is still there. So yeah, very, very excited to be back in town. Yeah.
It's so good to have you back. And I am one of those people who stuck around. I was so blown away by my little artsy mountain community here that I just never left. And, it's so inspiring to see folks go like you who have entered the city. And man, you're really going at it in the comedy scene down there. I'm always seeing you doing some cool stuff.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I'm trying. New York. I'm very lucky. It feels like the place to be. It's great that I can hit mics every single day, and do shows every once in a while. So where are you from originally? So you're not from New Paltz, clearly.
So I'm from Elmira, New York.
Elmira. Okay.
It's actually at upstate New York, even up more, and then a little to the west, on the border of Pennsylvania. So I grew up in kind of a more conservative area, different beliefs and not as much creativity or culture in terms of events and music and things that I really love. You had to kind of go up to Ithaca if you wanted any of that kind of stuff.
Yeah, that is very funny. That Ithaca is like the liberal bastion in that circle.
Safeway. I had to drive up and watch Inside Llewyn Davis with the Coen brothers and at the local art house theater there. You mentioned John Turturro, who was the Coen brothers muse there. Great actor.
Yeah, love Johnny.
Is he part of why you went to New Paltz? Because
No, absolutely not.
No?
Actually, the improv team was a big part of it. I didn't really know much about anything like you do when you're like 18 graduating high school. So I went to Binghamton for one semester pretty randomly, just
Up
because I
near
was
my
like,
neck
all
of
right,
the
I got
woods.
in. I guess we'll go. Who knows? I didn't really love it there. It was cold and in the middle of nowhere. It's not even in Binghamton. Binghamton's the middle of nowhere, but it's not even Binghamton. Binghamton is in Vestals, New York. Um,
Yeah.
so I was not thrilled about it, but I had heard from people who had gone to New Paltz previously who were a little bit older than me that like there was a great improv group and that it was just a cool place. So I was like, all right, fine, we'll try that. Auditioned for the improv team, and here we are.
TBA it's
TBA,
called, right?
yes, that's right, that's right.
I
We'll
hope
give
it
them
gets
some free
revived.
advertising. Yeah, TBA Improv.
Yeah, and I think we need to get it revived. I'm trying to encourage some students to bring it back to life and
Oh, did it die?
pass.
I didn't get the memo.
It might. I think it's just like in
Life support.
purgatory right now. It's
Oh,
not
that's too
quite
bad.
all the way, but
Yeah,
we
I
will
mean,
get
I
it
can't
back.
imagine. Yeah, COVID must have been really tough for the continuity of like a lot of student organizations and stuff.
Exactly, and so it'll be passed on. But you went first to Binghamton. Where are you from originally?
I'm from Long Island,
Okay, so
West
you went way
Hampton.
out there. A lot of
Oh yeah,
Islanders go to New Paltz and Binghamton and
all
all
the
that.
SUNYs, all the SUNYs. It's just it's Long Island Jews. That's it. So
Yeah,
it
and
was
that's
not
how
hard
I
to
met
find those people
Serena.
anywhere. Oh, there you go. Yeah.
She is also that, and is the first time I ever went to Long Island actually was studying a guy named Ludwig, who was a hero of New Paltz. There was a guy who lived in Long Island and had video footage of him, and that was my first time ever going to the island, was to record footage of this New Paltz legend for a documentary.
Oh wait, what is the legend? What's the video of him? What?
It was like this story of him being the king of open mic at local New Paltz scenes, and
Nice.
he's talking to himself, and it was like this perfect video because Ludwig Montessa is a figure in New Paltz that was celebrated every year. They had Ludwig Day. He passed young, but his parents actually ran the Kontiki store in New Paltz. So it was a powerful story that in my digital media program I was able to direct a documentary about him, and that was my first time in Long Island, and Serena showed me the ropes and got to stay down there, and since I'm a big fan of it, I love it. It's got a lot of good vibes for a visit and a trip to the beach, and
Oh yeah,
great
for sure.
diners.
Yeah, visit trip to the beach diner. That's the perfect Long Island experience.
That's a
Any
great
longer
day.
than that, it starts to get scary. But that's a
Yeah.
solid day you can have on Long Island.
They should call it not too Long Island.
Yeah. There you go. Very nice.
Yeah. So you were raised in Long Island, and you kind of when did you first start getting into comedy growing up, or this interest for improv and all that?
I think I've always been into comedy, into making people laugh. Like even as a little kid. For me, it's like, as like kind of an awkward guy, it was always really hard for me to read other people, like to know whether they like me, whether they think I'm cool. It's so hard to tell, but it's really easy to tell if people think that you're funny, right? There's a built-in noise that comes out of their body if they think that you're funny. So I think that's sort of where I put all my chips, is just into trying to make people laugh. Because that I can understand, that I can know for sure whether or not I'm doing well in this interaction,
Yeah, that is the cut and dry way to do it. I totally get that. You want to know if people like you in this world. It's hard to tell most of the time, but if they're giving you laughs, they're at least at ease enough to be showing you that form of love. It's pretty fun.
Exactly. And like I don't know, just like a beautiful thing that exists in the world. I mean, it's the mystery really at the heart of comedy, is like, what even is laughter? Like, I don't know. I don't think there's like a great, like no one knows for sure what's going on when people even laugh, but for some reason that's built in there.
It is. It's an interesting form too of kind of like a hypnotism. And I've been at great comics, and it's an hour of laughter. And it's for when you see somebody who's a master at it, like yourself and many great comics out there, you start to feel like, oh my God, this is uncontrollable, and it's such a great release to just sit back and let my mind go on a journey here.
Totally. Yeah, that ability to connect with like an audience is so huge. I mean, I remember being in high school, and I was into the theater, all the productions and stuff. But we only did musicals, and I could not sing at all. I have no musical talent whatsoever.
Yeah.
So we were doing some play. I had some really tiny part in it that was like just to give me something to do. But I just spent the entire time like thinking of ways I could insert myself into scenes, and like I do the choreography like backwards or the wrong way, because I was the village idiot. That was my role. So I just had fun
Perfect.
like making up stuff for myself to do, and making the cast laugh in rehearsals. But then the first time we actually opened and had a real audience, and like stuff I was doing was like, I mean, it was stupid, but it was really hitting. Feeling the energy of like, the hundreds of people, and understanding for the first time that that's like something that you can take and give back, and that attention and enthusiasm, that's like something that you can wield and allow to flow through you and uplift. I don't know. After that, it was over.
It's
I was
going
to chase that for the rest of my life. Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's kind of an addicting thing. As you got hooked to it, it's like that feeling of having a room in your hand. It's pretty powerful, and makes you want it more and more and more.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I also think it's like an expression of empathy also, like in a certain way. When you're doing like really well and it's all connecting, you're sort of in the audience's head. And I think, again, if it's going well, they sort of feel like they're in your head. And
That's so true.
It's a great like communal experience. I mean, that's why I loved improv also, because you're getting that with the audience, hopefully, and also with the other performers up on stage with you.
Yeah, it's a real give and take. I love it. I've been doing improv every week for like 4.5 years now, and it's kind of incredible. And I'm going tonight. We're recording this on an Improv Thursday, and it's a real give and take. It makes everybody boost up. Their energy is better than when they first enter the room.
Right, totally. That mind melding that happens when you're doing improv is like such a special thing. And again, when you're performing in general, and as someone who like felt like he had a really hard time connecting with people early on, it's so great to really feel that connection with an audience.
That's such a good point, because in this world, connections are hard to come by. Like they don't give them out. You don't have it as easily and organically these days. Like you'll meet someone, you'll know them, you'll say hello, you'll be acquaintances, but the connection you feel when you're in an improv workshop or a class, or if you're, with a bunch of comics sitting around and making each other laugh, there's this sense of a deep connection there. And it goes back to like what you said, allowing yourself to have a form where you give and you get and you feel the room. It allows for this organic, real connections to happen that you don't just find anywhere.
Yeah, totally. I mean, it's great when that happens with like one person, even like if you can make one stranger laugh and have a real connection. So
that's it.
It's just a great feeling when it's a whole room. Yeah.
You actually have a show that I've seen you in called Down in the City, How to Make Friends. Is that right?
Yeah, here to make friends. Yeah.
I love the social media on this. How did that develop, and what is that?
Yeah, so that's me and my co-producer Noah Stochel. We started doing stand-up at like roughly the same time, and we just realized like how far you can get, obviously being funny is there, and also just off of social connections. And at the time we were sort of like on the outskirts, like in the scene, just because we still honestly haven't been doing it even that long. But it was just like a very open, just like real, true thing that like, yeah, we're doing the show because we want to make friends. So we just leaned into like being just like super vulnerable about it, like about what our real intentions are. Yeah,
I love that. I mean, that's sort of what I want to do as Jolly Joe Jester. I want to bring people together, and my message so often is about how we all need to be each other's friends more than ever. We have to kind of join together with peace and love and laughter and the arts,
Right.
and create a sense of community more than ever, especially with all the different negative vibes in the world. Like, those kinds of events and connections are what make people feel like, all right, everything's going to be okay.
Totally. And there's so much of that in improv just because like that's the nature of the art form, but also like with stand up specifically, you look at a lot of shows branding and it's like really sharp edges and it's like flames and it's like the whole idea is like in your face, like fuck you type of energy to the show. So I thought it would be
Yeah.
funny to like sort of lean in the complete opposite direction of that and just like with a completely open heart and like borderline naive, just be like, "Hi, will you be my friend?" And that's sort of the premise. Yeah.
I love it. I'm right on that side of the spectrum of the different types of stand-up, because I know today we have like the kind of anti-woke comedy scene.
Right. I mean, that is like the defining, I would say, characteristic of like stand up in this moment is like,
Yeah.
I don't know. We don't have to get into it too much, but like it's being used for political evil, like straight up, just like, you know, people opening for Trump with stand up. So I don't know. I
Yeah.
guess in my
I mean, we have a
story, I'm trying to
stand-up as
push back a little
president.
bit. Right. I mean, that is so true. I mean, yeah, talk about like using humor for evil. Like I
Yeah.
think his sense of humor is like a big part of how he got where he is. He's like he's
Yeah.
a funny guy.
I was just telling a friend that, and from that first debate, when he kind of was the funny, when he turned it into a roast and started going after everybody there, yeah, it set the tone of, I'm gonna push the edge, I'm gonna say what shouldn't be said, I'm gonna name call and hit people where it hurts, and be you know, now that is kind of, yeah, like you said, it's using this kind of platform and the old art form to get into people's heads, and to create a sense of us versus them mentality. And I think my big point is that I'm not about us versus them. You know, growing up in Elmira and having friends still to this day who are, you know, kind of under that spell. I want to give those guys a big hug and talk to them and say, listen, let's go a layer deeper here, and reconnect as brothers, and maybe reconsider some of these thoughts about the other people we're in this trip called life with, about gay people, trans people, immigrants, you know, all these things. How can we maybe show each other that kindness and love is the way, you know?
Right, totally. And I think stand up has the potential to be an art form that can really
Yeah.
bring people together. And like I touched on earlier, like it's all about empathy in a way for me. But I mean, yeah, what's happening now, it just shows the power of the medium. And yeah, I hope we can find a way
Yeah.
to use it for less despicable ends, I guess.
Well, you're helping me with that goal by being on the podcast. I mean, we already have the Joe Rogan experience, but the Jolly Joe Jester experience is happening now. It's birth, and you're in here in one of the first handful of episodes, and I'm really hoping that as our worlds grow and we continue to develop, yeah, you will come back on and on, and we can just talk about anything here. You know,
Yeah, I would
life,
love that.
our love for people, and stand up, you know.
Yeah, totally, totally.
So you've made some friends doing that show?
Yeah, I mean, it worked. Great success. We haven't made some friends at the Here to Make Friends show.
That's
But
awesome. And
yeah,
you
it's great. Yeah.
also told me about Soup of the Day comedy, which I was so
Right,
thankful of. Really
right.
cool event down in the
Shout
Producers
out
Club.
Sean Kinnear. Yeah.
Sean Kinnear is great and has had Happenstancery come up, you know, a couple of times now. The New York will take a New York City field trip and come on in with our improv, and I'm excited. You know, just for the record, Dan and I sat down. I hit you up many months ago and said, listen, I'd love to, you know, sit down, have a cup of Joe, and chat with you in person about what it is that you're doing, because you really are putting together great material. You're a great writer,
Thank you.
and you are releasing it online. So Dan Finegold on social media, in the description of this podcast, you're just scratch the surface of it, but you release some really funny clips. And you were kind enough to sit down and give me a real window into your process and really what inspires it all. So thanks for doing that.
Oh yeah, absolutely. You know, I spent so much time thinking about it. I'm happy to talk about it. It's nice
Right?
to let it out. Yeah.
Get it out of your own head and your own notebooks, and you really treat this comedy like, I can tell how much you care about it, and you treat it like an athlete looks at game footage and game plans, almost, of here we go into another exercise. You know, what can I learn? What can I change? And I really
I think
that.
being able to watch stuff back, because I record absolutely every set that I ever do, open mic, show, whatever. I have, like, you know, hours of me just like absolutely eating shit on stage in my camera roll. But yeah, being able to watch it back is huge. I honestly, like, I don't know how people even got good at stand-up before it was so easy to record yourself, like in the like 80s. Like, I don't, you just don't even know what you look like until you see yourself on like a huge gig, I guess. So it's kind of crazy to think about. But yeah, I'm watching back the replays all the time, and I'm constantly finding new tics that I've invented to, like, I just like watching back. I'm like, why am I touching my eyebrows so much? You have to stop doing that.
Yeah, do a whole joke like this.
Yeah, for real. Yeah.
Well, that's the kind of stuff that you watch it back, and it inspired me when you described this, and I have a different approach to it, but I was so inspired, and I'm actually getting ready to do a major playback here, because I did, since I met with you, I don't know if I shared then, but my goal was to do 27 stand-ups in my 27th year.
Oh yeah, are you on track? How's that going?
Well, if you count my recent open mic where I just played some music, I'm at number 29 here, and my birthday.
There you go.
Up. Yeah,
nice. Congrats!
I nailed it. Yeah, I'm very thankful, and you inspired me so much. And one thing that I did that was different from your style, I really did a different set every time.
Yeah, I have tremendous respect for that, but I just personally am like so neurotic that I want everything to be perfect.
Yeah, and that's it. Now I have to do what you do after every set, which is like, let's sit down, and I think one of my friends, Topher, we're going to do this, and maybe even include it as kind of a part of this podcast, but we're going to look back and make notes, and I'm going to go through and look at it like a writer and realize, all right, this was all an act of generating material, but now let's go through these and put them in my table of contents and start to rework some of these and put more jokes and build them up bigger.
Yeah, totally. I think of it as like there's an explore stage and then there's an exploit stage. And explore is very important to just go up there and like do whatever, talk from the heart, see what you come up with. And then exploit is when you really see like what works, what doesn't work, and try to just make it really, really tight, absolutely no fat, so that it works every time.
I love it. And you have so many setups like that where you just really show, that you thought about it, it's funny, you've done it in front of people enough times. So now I'm going to tell it to you just the right way. And I know it's going to get you. That's what that's what I see out of you because of that exploit phase.
Right. Yeah. I very much am stuck in exploit. So I could use some more exploring. It's very difficult for me. And it's funny because I do have that improv background, but it's when I'm doing stand-up, it's hard for me to get up there and really just talk and like not know where it's going. I really struggle with that, but it is important.
It's a good balance. So looking at your work, there's one bit you do that I loved, which was your joke about karate, going into karate class.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
You mind kind of butchering through that on the podcast?
Oh, yeah, sure. The joke is pretty much, I don't know if I'm going to do it or describe it. We'll see what happens. But it's about how I used to do karate, and the sensei would give everyone a speech about how, like, karate is self-defense. You aren't to ever use this in real life. These skills are extremely dangerous. Again, only use this in self-defense. But somehow he also had a ton of stories about times that he used karate in real life. So like, you know, what's going on there? Is he putting himself in situations where he's trying to get mugged? This cannot
He's
all
like,
be self-defense. You got to be starting some of these fights, Sensei Steve. That's basically the
come
gist of
on,
it.
Sensei. To tell us, are you purposely walking through town with money and
Right,
holding it out? What's going on? Oh,
yeah,
that's so funny.
yeah, that's based off of a real experience. I will tell you, I didn't actually take karate. It was judo that I took, but you know,
Yeah.
it's still, you get the idea. But
But
yeah, it's
Sensei Steve is so funny.
what was that?
Sensei Steve is so funny.
Oh, yeah,
You
yeah.
like work backwards from
Sensei
there.
Steve, yeah. Um, but yeah, I mean that's a good example of just like what really appeals to me, which is like these contradictions that you find in
Yeah.
life. You know, which is like the
Mm.
contradiction. Obviously, is that he's saying that it should only be self-defense. Yet clearly, this was not all self-defense. Why is he getting in so many fights? So I always think that if you could find a contradiction and explain it in a really short, efficient way, that's a laugh right there.
Oh, I love it. That's a laugh because you just
That's the
people
heart of
can
a lot
picture
of
it.
what I try to do. Yeah.
Yeah, and this world is filled with contradictions. It seems like
Right,
everything
right,
is.
exactly. We live in a silly world, right? There's all like,
Yeah,
you know, I get writer's block sometimes for sure. Like it's I
yeah,
go like a week or two where like I really am just not thinking of anything. But like, yeah, it's important to remember that we live in a world that doesn't make any sense at all. There are
yeah,
contradictions and silly things all around you if you really, you know, become the king of looking around and listening.
yeah. Isn't that so much of it? Is we look to these comedy acts as sort of a microscope, and it zooms in on something and shows us something, and zooms out and goes into another and zooms out. So it's a very cool how you can dive into something and show people something that was right there the whole time, but now we're looking at it through your lens. It's
Yeah,
very cool.
yeah, totally. And I think it like I said, it's about like looking around and just listening, just like really being present in the world, which is not just
Yeah,
stand up. I think that's like at the core of like any art is like you have to really be here. You have to be present. I think that's
yeah.
huge. Is just like really actually being present.
And were you always pretty present and mindful, do you feel like, or has stand up helped you in that matter? Look at
Stand
the
up has
world in a
certainly
different way.
helped. It's certainly helped. I mean, it's always a struggle to be present. Well, maybe not always. I don't know. I'm plenty distracted sometimes. I'm caught up in my own world. I'm not listening. I'm walking around with
Yeah,
my headphones in. I'm looking down. I just want to get where I'm going. But
yeah. Oh, I have to send you my recent bit, which is all about looking up and giving people the international symbol for "I love you and I'm here for you, neighbor." And you've seen it before. This is what it is.
oh yeah,
The head
just
nod.
just a little nod. Right. I mean, yeah, just an acknowledgement that other people are here sharing the world with you.
You don't do that much in the city, though.
No, definitely not. Definitely not. Yeah.
It's a kind of a head down world. But when I go there, I'm like fish out of water, country boy. Like people either think I'm crazy or a tourist who's just very excited to be in the
I mean,
city.
there are friendly people who will be happy to talk to you in the city. It's like maybe
Yeah,
one out of every 200, but if you just keep the head nodding, eventually you will start a talk with somebody. But
yeah,
yeah, I
one
do
or
I do
two.
love those random conversations that happen with people who are like slightly unhinged. I really do love that.
Yeah, it is. It's so much of what this world needs. That's how we all start feeling more connected, and those little talks. And you realize that we're all really one, going through the same experience here. Everybody on this path, you can find a connection to just about anybody.
Right, absolutely. Yeah, and bringing it back to stand up, I think that like if you're really present in the room, that makes all the difference. Like you have your material, you have what you want to say, you're prepared. But if you're not actually there while you're delivering it, then it's going to fall flat. So
So
improv
true.
is more obviously like that because you take the suggestions from the audience and everything, but stand up too, I think the beauty of it is like this is only happening right here, right now. So it's
Yeah,
just about acknowledging like what is going on in the room, what the energy is. Just not
yeah,
trying to
and
hide
and
anything. Yeah.
being yourself. Yeah, and not trying to hide who you are, and And oftentimes my friend, my mentor Dagan, who will say to me like, who is Jolly Joe Jester, or what is your essence? Because so much about it is actually not about what you say, but about like, do you have a character or a point of view that is like a certain vibe that we say, oh, I know what your essence is or what your message is. Do you think about that, or what am I giving off? What am I wearing?
Yeah, all the time. I feel like that's like such a huge part of the stand-up journey, is just like figuring out like how the audience sees you so that you can be on the same page as them. Because it's very strange when there's like a disconnect. Like you see acts sometimes where it's clear that like this comedian thinks that they come across a certain way, but they like absolutely don't. Like some nerdy guy will come up there like, I know you guys all think that I'm like a frat boy party guy. And it's like, no one thinks that. That's not what anyone thinks about you. But I think that like roast battles are like awesome for figuring that out. Like I'm not like a huge roast guy. Like I'm a sweetheart to my core. But I mean, roast battles are actually very nice. Really, it's two comedians like giving each other gifts, with these insults. It helps you see like how you come across to other people. So yeah, I don't know. I'm learning that I have like a deeply asexual energy. I feel like when I talk about that definitely resonates with people. But yeah, I mean, it's a journey to figure out how the audience sees you, and also to figure out like who genuinely you are while you're performing. Because with stand-up, it's so vulnerable that I feel like it's natural that you build these walls to protect yourself, because like you don't want the audience to really see you and not like you. So it's sort of a process of taking those walls down and making peace with like who you actually are, and like being open about who you actually are, and then also being aware of like how you come across to other people. So it's about being really aware. I mean, and I think that goes back to being present. Is like, I feel like it's poison whenever the audience can see you as a performer trying to ignore something. Like if something happens and like everyone knows that everyone heard it, but like you're just choosing not to say it, like you lose them. So it doesn't even have to be that funny, the way that you like acknowledge what's happening, but it's just such a relief when you are present and you're not ignoring anything.
Yeah, especially like if something was said or done, even in the act before you, or like when I'm going to be hosting this show at Snugs, like there's like 15 comedy acts and there's so many crazy things going to be going on late at night. But it's a matter of what am I gonna do to show, and sometimes somebody's act is echoing through, right? It stays with you as the next act comes on. It's like, you gotta almost talk about it or bring it back to that and then move on.
Right. Yeah. If you're trying to ignore something, you're losing them immediately.
Especially hecklers too. You got to work with them.
Right. And it doesn't have to be like a hilarious, clippable clapback, but ignoring it is going to ruin you.
Yeah, and I feel like in the city you must get a lot of energy. You never know what kind of crowd you're going to get. I've known that New York audiences are pretty hard, but you've told me a lot about some open mics down there that are some of your favorite spots where you feel warm and welcome and excited to explore.
Yeah, there are some great, really supportive open mics that I love. I really tend to like the broad spectrum mics where you have some musical acts and some comedy acts.
Yeah,
that tends to be good. There's sort of an audience of people who aren't just comics who are waiting to go and who want to do better than you, so they don't want to laugh, that you get at like the comedians only mics. So I really do like those mics where there's a little bit of everything. But yeah, New York's tough because honestly, I feel like the main thing is that there's so much great entertainment that you're competing with. Like I know in some smaller towns, like people will come to open mics just because it's like a little entertainment thing that's going on. Versus like in New York City, you're competing with like The Lion King on Broadway. So like your open mic has to be pretty good if you're going to get people to come to it instead of any of the other options they have.
I know, it's so true. That is something to think about. And yet there's so many people, and they're all looking for some form of escapism right now. I think we're really in kind of a comedy renaissance period. Like these days, anybody can join in and have their voice shared and broadcast to the world. It's
Yeah,
cool.
it's great. I mean, I feel like social media is like kind of fulfilling like it's in a way like the promise of it early on, which is that I think it has democratized. I can only speak on like stand-up specifically, but like it really has, like anyone can reach a big audience if you just like record yourself on your phone and then put it out there. So I
Yeah.
think in that sense it is like easier than ever. I mean, the hard part is getting really good and like having an audience who like wants to hear what you have to say.
Yeah.
um
That's the
but
step one.
yeah, if you are like really good at it and you get your stuff out there, I think good things happen. And I think stand-up's kind of unique in the entertainment industry that way. Like there's a lot of entertainment jobs like acting, singing, music, you know, there's a lot of BS involved, there's a lot of nepotism involved. Stand-up, not to say that like there's none of that, there is always like money gives you an advantage for sure in any industry, but stand-up, I think if you're like really good at it, you'll go far, and if you're not really good at it, you won't go that far.
Yeah, it's so true. And that's the thing about it where, people will always wonder, how do you make it? How do you get an agent? How do I get to the right bookers and all that? But there's a Steve Martin quote about that, which goes to what you're saying. It's like, you just got to focus on one thing. Be so good that they can't ignore you.
Right.
That's all you got to do.
Yeah, I forget who said this, but in a similar vein, I think it might be a Conan quote, I don't know, but about like how, you know, there you can have a whole ensemble of musicians who are all like going crazy and trying a million different things and trying to make something work, and if you're just like standing there with a triangle and you're doing that consistently, eventually people are going to be like, what's going on with that guy over there? So yeah, that's so true about just like having your own thing that you do and just, you know, staying consistent with it. Eventually people notice.
And keep working on it. You're a young man, so am I. We're starting at this young. We're just getting started. The more.
Yeah. I mean, I'm waxing poetic, but I'm basically an open micer, to be clear.
Yeah, you're more than that. You're golden, Pony Boy.
Oh, thank you.
Really, you've got a big, bright future ahead of you. And what are some of your goals or things that like you would like to see happen in the future with this career?
I mean, right now, like immediate future, I just like this year, I just want to get booked more. Like I want to be on shows like a couple of times every month. And long term, I would just love to do like some type of little tour of the United States. Like this will all have been worth it. I will be super happy if I get to just, you know, go across the country doing an act.
Yeah.
So right now, that's as big as I'm thinking.
I love that. And that's so much of the, old school. That's how you made it. You had to prove yourself as I can go to this club, and there's a circuit of clubs around this country that comics, you can do that. And what a cool career. I've dreamed of being in the green room at a place like that. And you're there, you're fed a meal, and who's the crew? Your sound guy, your friends, or anybody who's in your posse, and that's it. Black stage,
right? And that's the amazing thing about stand-up is it's so bare bones. Like you just show up, and the venue has a microphone, and like that's all you need to do.
Yeah, and that's it. And you bring your energy, and you turn that empty stage into Dan's world for the night. It's awesome.
That's the name of the tour. It's Dan's World.
Welcome to Dan's World. It's Dan's World. I can see the poster of you like making a face and having a globe, the globe over your head.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm like Atlas, but it's just like,
yeah. And it's that's the kind of market though that once you start doing that in this world, that is an available way to make money or to make a decent living. And there's so many
that's
people
the whole dream.
we don't even know there who do that.
It's just a decent living. Like, to be able to support myself doing this would be like unbelievable. So that's really like as high as my aspirations are in this moment.
Well, I'm putting it out there and sharing that with me and with anybody who's listening. You know, it starts that journey here, and I think we can see that. I can see that for you, and who knows? Maybe we'll go on a tour together someday. I'll drive, and all the gas money is tax expendable for. We're going to our gigs, we're doing the travel for work. And that's a way to live, man. That's
another great thing about stand-up is the tax write-offs.
Right. There's not many of them, but gas and tickets and hotels. You get paid to travel the world. And these guys, I always thought it was genius. Like Bill Maher, he's like, oh, every New Year's Eve I do a Hawaii show. And it's like, all right, great. Get a tax expense, hotel and resort trip to Hawaii. And that's it. And people love to come out for comedy and all parts of the world. They need it more than ever.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, there's a huge, very strong audience for it. So like, again, if you get really good and you're really consistently delivering big laughs in like every room, good things start to happen.
All it takes is a couple of little mentions. Like, I think you're not far away, my friend. You know, all you need is like that one guest spot on Jimmy Fallon or that one little thing. And it's like, as seen on Jimmy Fallon and New York City and the Comedy Club and this. And, it's like,
sure, this guy is connections all build. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. I mean, it's a long journey, but you got to enjoy the journey. That's really it. Like, it's a long path to walk, but you just keep walking.
The journey is the destination.
So true.
Yeah. One step at a time, and every step is a little bit closer to, death.
Yeah, exactly.
But also to cementing your legacy here on this world. So, yeah, it's exciting. And what would you like people to feel? They're walking out of a Dan Finegold, It's Dan's World show. How would you like them what would you like them to say when they're having a slice of pie and coffee after?
I just want it to have been funny. Like, that's really it. Like, I do think that stand-up could be like a vehicle for social change. But I think that if you intentionally go into it with any goal other than like make people laugh a lot, the result is not going to be very compelling.
You're so right. Yeah. If you can sneak in a message.
Yeah. I mean, I think that the things that I care about and my values, they leak in because jokes are all about ideas really at the core. So like the ideas that I have are, the node where all the jokes grow out of. But I really don't have any goal other than like make these people laugh.
You want them to sit and say, that was funny. I didn't stop laughing. The bit about this was so good.
Right.
And that's so much of what it's about,
Yeah.
You made us free from our minds for an hour.
Yeah. I have no illusions that like people are going to come to the show and then like vote a different way because of it. I mean, sure, maybe that would be nice, but I think if everyone is in there laughing together, that's really all it's about.
That's as good as you can do a lot of times. And I try to sneak in a little, maybe less subtly, or y'all do slow subliminal advertisement, and I'll just be like, global warming real quick and just keep going. But, if you really want to make people relaxed and listening and open and empathetic, just getting them to sit and laugh at a guy like us for a while is an act of revolution right there. It's a powerful spiritual act is what we do just on its own.
Yeah, totally. At its best, for sure.
Yeah. And that's it. With this life, we get one shot. There's no dress rehearsal. And if you can really deliver. When does it
start? Like now?
It starts. You missed it. Yeah, you missed the starting gun.
Oh, damn.
But it's on. Yeah. You didn't get the script, did you?
No.
You got to improvise.
Yeah, totally.
I saw a comic real quick. It was a show recently at an open mic, but he showed me a clip on it. He pulled out a pen and paper and he said, look at my type 5. He says, minute 1, minute 2, minute 3. And he listens back and makes a note of tallies the number of laughs within the 5 minutes.
I do that sometimes too. I think that's helpful as an exercise. What I do sometimes is I will type out a joke just like in a Word document, and I'll highlight the lines that are laughs. Yeah. And then you can kind of like bird's eye view look at it and you see like, okay, this part of the joke is really dense with laughs. And then I talk for like 3 sentences here and there's nothing. So like we need to add a laugh here or cut most of this.
Yeah.
So sometimes that can be helpful. I feel like what you miss a little bit when you're just focusing on laughs per minute is like the quality of laughs.
Yeah.
You know, so it's, yeah, all of this is like a proxy for like the energy in the room, which is like sort of impossible to really like scientifically map out. Is the energy, but like, yeah, the volume of laughs is something that like sometimes people will do, like, oh, I hit however many decibels, which again is just like a proxy for the energy in the room. But yeah, I mean, laughs per minute could miss like a really long setup that leads to like a really huge satisfying laugh.
Exactly.
So
like
sometimes those jokes are great. But yeah, I mean, that is one tool, and it is certainly one thing to consider.
It is, and I think it's all about these people who, you know, he had said, you get one shot, you know, if you're in the right room and there's a booker there, if you don't kill him in the first 5 minutes, like he might never book you again. You might be your shot missed. So he was
first impressions
really crafting that.
Yeah. The first impressions with stand-up are so important. That's why it's important to understand like how, like what kind of impression you leave when people first see you, what kind of impression you make, like understanding how the audience is viewing you. But if you can like instantly establish that you are funny, the audience will trust you, and like you'll get a lot of leeway to do other stuff that like maybe is a little bit more experimental, maybe takes a long time to get to a big laugh. Whereas like if you open up and like first thing, like your first 2 jokes bomb, they've already decided like, oh, okay, this is a guy who's not funny, so like I'm not gonna laugh. So yeah. That's why I love one-liners, because it is a way to make people laugh in like 6 seconds.
That's it. If you come in hot and you really hit it with that in the beginning, you know, it's a great way to then, like you said, dive into more of the experimental or the long build, slow build. So I'm going to be crafting that. Like I went out the other day into a group and I just said, yes, I'm working for the role of Fat Jesus Christ.
Great.
The new thing. And I just started with that. But it was like, I'm aware of what I look like and who I am.
Like young Santa.
Young Santa in training. I've done that one around the holidays. Yeah. It's, you never know what it is. Or just like, I look like the guy, Matthew Silver, like, you know.
I love Matthew Silver. Yeah.
Yeah, he's an interesting guy because I'll mention him. He does a show in the city called the Idiot's Hour.
Oh, yeah. He had a mic here I've been to a few times. I've never been to the Idiot's Hour show. But yeah.
I'm definitely going to come down, and Dagan and I are working on more of our absurdist act, because absurdity is a whole nother realm of comedy that is different from this like laughs per capita, and you know, it's the opposite of like a one-liner. But it is something that I'm a big fan of, clowning and absurdity as well.
Yeah, me too. I mean, there's all types of like awesome alt stuff going on in New York City. So that's really fun. I find it really compelling and really great to watch. And I sometimes am a little bit sad that that's like so not my style at all.
Yeah.
Well, you know what write you are. The joke, deliver the joke. I hope it worked. Let's make it really consistent. But no, I love people who like go up and they're just like insane. But that's so memorable. Even when it's bad, that's what I think about a lot, is like, even if someone is like terrible, if they're terrible in like a unique, memorable way, like that's like the one thing that you'll think about from whatever show you saw, or like, you know, long after you leave the show. But if someone is memorable like that and a little bit unhinged and also really funny, that's killer.
Yeah, That's like, you'll never forget that instant legend, and they become just like, oh yeah, that person, I know they exist, and I'm excited to see, what they do next. So it's a good vibe. Is there some comics, that inspired you early on? Like, we're getting towards the end. So some of your influences or people who were, maybe because I said, oh wow, this guy, this makes me want to do it myself.
Yeah, I mean, I love John Mulaney. He's one of the best. Just the way that he goes and is so aware of like how he comes across. Like
Yeah.
that high-waisted man has feminine hips, just like totally emasculating himself is so much fun. And, yeah, he just has phenomenal delivery and great storytelling. I really like Pete Holmes. Pete Holmes is like so silly and
spiritual too.
Yes, yeah. He's on the Ram Dass stuff also. So yeah, I love those guys.
Yeah. Oh, two great ones to name there, and totally I can see their involvement. But Pete Holmes really strikes me as another level because of his stuff about the world, like his bit about sleeping, and just how turning your brain off, and talking about God and the way the world works. Like that kind of stuff is very intriguing to me as somebody who can do the observational kind of Jerry Seinfeld thing, but like you said, can also get spiritual or metaphysical. And I really share his excitement about the unknown on the universe.
Right. I mean, it's such a ripe, area for comedy because like comedy is all about like stuff that doesn't make any sense, stuff that's contradictory, and that's like, yeah, what is any of this in like a really broad metaphysical way? Is like it's a huge contradiction that anything can exist in the world at all, that like we're alive and having this experience of reality. So yeah, I mean, being able to mine that for humor is huge. I will also say I love Anthony Jeselnik and like Stephen Wright, just in terms of like really tight jokes that's just like set up, punchline, boom.
So great. Yeah, those two, and obviously the late Mitch Hedberg.
Of course, yeah, Mitch Hedberg is great too. But yeah, I mean, Twitter was honestly a huge influence on me, like in high school and college.
Growing up?
Yeah, just like I was never big on Twitter at all, but like I was obsessed with like making tweets and like laughing at tweets and just like that format of like, and back in the day it was like 180 characters. So having to make like a really tight joke, trying to figure out like what is the essence of like the joke I'm trying to make, and just putting that out there, I think still has a big influence on the way that I write.
Oh, that's so cool. And there's not one wasted word. It's just the right combination of words and getting your point across, setting up the tension and releasing it. It's a hard art form.
Yeah, but I feel like one-liners are like sort of the only jokes that can really be like mathematically perfect, where you can be like, this is a 10-word joke. It has to be these 10 words in this exact order. Yeah. Whereas like when you're telling a story or doing something that's like a little bit longer form, you can always be like, should this be tweaked? Should this be a little bit different? Should I use this word or this word? I sort of drive myself crazy doing that. But like with one-liners, it's easy for me to be like, oh yeah, that's it. This is finished.
I see how satisfied that makes you. Of like, this one is, this piece of paper is so ready and good, and I can always fall back on it.
Right. Yeah, I live for that.
I saw a guy who wrote all of his one-liners on a deck of cards, actually.
Oh.
He had a huge stack and just was like, yep, that's another one. I could go all day, but let's see what's this one. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I hope you continue writing and creating, and I'm so excited. We're having you up in New Paltz.
Yeah, I cannot wait for the show. I'm so excited. Yeah, thank you so much for the opportunity. I really, I can't wait to get back out there.
It's a full circle moment, and when we first talked many moons ago over coffee, we were like, let's get that comedy, troupe vibe where they finish the set and they say, oh man, I love how you did this. You could use, here's a tag, here's an idea, here's something. So I want to keep up this momentum of showing each other where we're at and what we're doing. And if you have anything, a little taste of your comedy to put in the end here.
Oh yeah. I can send you a little clip that you can throw in.
Oh, wonderful!
So
folks can get a taste of what Dan
Finegold. We'll get the audience salivating. Don't worry.
Well, folks, this is a real gift and honor to speak to Dan. And one last question for you is just about if what you would say to your younger self after all this, after coming this far and being in the city. What would you tell yourself who's wondering, what should I do? How do I get involved?
I would, just do it. It's really that simple. Like, it took me so long to like get the courage to like actually go up and do stand up. But you only have to do it for the first time once, right? So just get that over with. There's like hundreds of bombs between you and being really good at this. So be thankful every time you get a bomb. You're one step closer.
Oh, that's such a great piece. Well, you really rocked this today. It's been such an interesting talk with you, Dan Finegold. And
yeah, I had a blast. Thank you so much for having me on, Joe.
Thank you so much. We look forward to seeing you here in New Paltz on the 28th of January. And here's a quick taste of your comedy. Thanks so much, Dan Finegold.
Thank you. Bye.
Peace.
So I used to take karate when I was younger. My sensei, looking back on it now, was fully out of his mind. Like, even for a white guy teaching karate, he was crazy. I remember my first day of class, the first thing he told us was something about how karate is to only ever be used in self-defense. And then the second thing he told us was like 40 different stories about times that he used karate to beat people up in real life. And I gotta call bullshit, Sensei Steve. I think you were starting a lot of these fights. Just put that down anywhere, that's fine. No, but this Sensei Steve had like dozens of stories about times that he got mugged in a parking garage. If I got mugged in a parking garage twice, I would never go back. Also, Sensei Steve taught karate in the suburbs. He did not ever have to be in a parking garage. I think he was commuting to the parking garage. I think he was like walking around with a $50 bill hanging out of his back pocket. Whenever anyone got close, he was like, "It's finally justified! I can't wait to tell the 11-year-olds about this."
A long time ago, where I'm from in the South, we used to ask questions like, how are we going to be different? What makes us different in 2025, folks? I really wonder, we had the 50s. They were known for, I like to summarize the movie, the 50s were like the movie Grease, okay? Smoking made you cool. People were doing a lot of gibberish. Smoking makes you cool. I saw that in the video. It was like, don't smoke.
I saw them smoking at the end of the movie Grease. And as soon as she started puffing cancer sticks, she became cool.
That's the 50s for you. Oh, and then there's, the consent in the movie Grease. Oh, did she put up a fight? Yeah, she did. That's the 50s. 60s, Woodstock. I'm a hippie, people. I feel it. The power of love runs beneath me, my dinosaur and shark cells. And the truth is, 70s what? 70s were my fur coat. You can't stand by the way I move my hips, I'm a ladies' man. But now, what are we going to be in 2025? I ask you all, go forward, you have my blessing. Let's make it a better world. 2025, come alive. I'm Jolly Joe Jessup.
Yeah! Woo! Jolly Joe Jessup, everybody. Jolly Joe Jessup. There we go.